Okay, so I was just thinking about those two videos I just did on collapsing all of that, getting rid of all that need of the frequencies that come in from all the other planets, the universe, and beyond that you don't even know about, and developing who you are with all of that influence. You taking control and becoming whatever you want to be. Well, and the ascension sickness things. Well, I realized that those are tied together. So, whether you know it or not, if you're moving rapidly, like me, you will already have begun that telling the universe to back off, that you're going to become what you want to become, and you don't want any influences, no beliefs, no judgments, no astrological influences. Everything's got to back off so you can become a god again. This process of cutting off all of that is going to directly affect the body because it's used to all of those influences, all of those frequencies guiding it, telling it what to do, who it is, what it needs to do next, how it needs to respond to things. So, as you do this consciously or unconsciously, if it's your higher self that's doing it, a lot of you it is, if you listen to me, then that also is a reason why your body could be biting back a little bit. That would be more things like less physical things. The physical things are going to be more this massive divine and divine energies of masculine and feminine coming on board and merging and balancing. That's physicality. But if you're having things like depression, sadness, foggy in the head, uh, normally you would know would react in a circumstance, and now you're just standing there going, I'm confused. That kind of thing. If you're having that kind of stuff, that's going to be because you've already started to back off all the other influences. And astrological is just one of them. You've worked on a lot of them already if you're listening to me. You've already gotten rid of probably education and religion and government. Now you watch them afar and laugh. A lot of your family influences. You will be automatically getting rid of that thinking that chromosomes have anything to do with anything. The genetics is real. It's not. If you don't know that, well, I guarantee you, your higher self has already put that in play. That will also throw your physical body. You've been told, well, this is how it works, and it's very organized and linear thinking. So that will be yanked away. It was proven a long time ago. But if your conscious self has not learned that information, at this point, your higher self will kind of handle the situation. And so what happens is if you raise your vibration with your intent enough, fast enough, your higher self will take over. It will discuss it with your physical self, and your physical self will be drug along, usually complaining. And if you don't keep up, your conscious self is just confused. But when you put enough intent in something, it will happen, whether you know what you're doing or not. Kind of like G-Man putting all of that intent in, making sure that he was free and in good health. Well, it wasn't pretty, but it worked. And that's kind of what the rest of you guys are doing. If you've stated, I want to raise in vibration, I want to go to 5D, and you've said it over and over and over again, but you haven't consciously understood what that entailed, well, you put enough energy, it will happen anyway. And your physical self will be drug along and complaining and bitching the whole way, and your consciousness will be looking around going, I don't know what's happening. I'm confused. But it will still happen. And eventually, if you do anything or you don't do anything, it's kind of like G-Man did. Eventually, it'll make sense. It'll all fall into place. You can make that easier on yourself by looking around and looking around and getting rid of anything that tells you that you are a certain anything. The way you look, the way you act, the way you are. Anything that tells you you're supposed to be a certain way, or you have to be a certain way, or science says you're a certain way, you're going to get rid of all those because that's just all bull. You don't have to be anything. You're a god. You can do whatever you want. Their science holds nothing against a god that knows that they're God. So if that's where you are, and the body, if you're moving real fast because you did the intent, but consciously you don't know what's going on, the body will be more confused too. It can use your help. But nonetheless, being drug along or not, if you've had enough intent, the higher self and law of attraction will prevail, and you will get drug along whether you're consciously confused or not. You do not, it is not a prerequisite going to 5D for you to understand the transition, for you to understand. I know that's what humans think, that you've got to understand it before you can do it, but, well, that's another thing that they're wrong about. If you put enough intent in it, it will happen. And a lot of you guys have been putting this intent out there for decades. Some of you less, but a lot of you decades. There's a lot of energy in this. Once the energy is at a certain point, it will happen. Period. It will happen whether you understand it or not, simply because you've made the command so strong that it's got to. You can't diffuse it, especially when you don't know what's going on. If you knew what was going on, you wouldn't want to diffuse it, and you don't know what's going on, so you can't diffuse it. So ride the hurricane. Be nice to your body. Too much, it'll just cause you more and more trouble for both you and the physical self. And if you are being drug along, I assure you that you have put enough intent out there that you put the snowball in already on the ground at the top of the mountain, and it is about the size of a 3-bedroom house. You're not going to stop it now, especially if you're listening to these videos, because the videos now really high vibration, and a lot of information people are going to poo-poo. So if you're listening and this makes sense to you, yeah, you can probably stop it. So if you're worried about not doing something right at this point, you can't stop it, so you can't do it wrong. You can't stop the snowball that's now the size of the house. You just can't. Now it's just a matter of how you ride it out. And remember your body, the easier it will be. With me, it's a controlled snowball. It's happening. I know it has been happening. Fortunately, when it was a smaller snowball, it was more difficult. The bigger it is, it's easier to run on top of. And like in the movies, like Johnny Depp in that wheel in Pirates of the Caribbean, for any Pirates of the Caribbean fans. That's what it feels like to me, only a whole lot bigger. So my analogies are surfing on a hurricane wave and running on a ball of snow going down a mountain that's about the size of a house. The bigger the snowball gets, easier it is to run on top of it as it rolls. When it was little, it was very difficult to get my balance. Big now. Now it's just fun to watch. Alright, I'm going to end this one. Love you bunches. I don't know when I'll see you next. Bye now.